Man, I didn't think it would be harder than I thought. Yeah, so I am formally, I'm officially resigning from my position as vice president. But before that, gosh, it's hard. It's actually really, those are hard decisions to make, that's why. So first off, thank you. Thank you to, and for every thank you, please, I think every thank you deserves a round of applause. Thank you to the senators that came here ever since the beginning of the semester, those who actually campaigned and vote, got people's votes and have been here and will be here. And so thank you to our new senators, senators that just came in, senators that got appointed. Thank you, because you guys are just as equally as important as those that ran. So all of the commissioners that I get to sit with every time in cabinet, thank you to the commissioners, to the assistant commissioners that have both been here and been focusing on their studies too. And thank you to the new assistant commissioners that hopefully get appointed today. Thank you to the courts, the justice, our chief justice right there, sitting down really pretty right there. Thank you to every one of them, every single one of them. Thank you. Thanks to our staff, who has been tremendously mentoring myself and Miles throughout this whole process. They have really developed me and Miles into becoming really better leaders, and I hope that they continually do that for the next administrations to come. So thank you. Thank you to our public that's also here today. I'm so nervous today. Thank you for everybody that's coming here today. So yeah, thank you. And lastly, of course, to my running mate right there, who's probably really just as bittersweet about this as the beginning. What he said, and I still remember this over the summer when we were trying to fix everything. He's like, Charles, you and me, we're gonna work on this together. You're like my boyfriend now. You're like my husband too. So like nobody else, but Miles, it's not you. But no, thank you, honestly, thank you for allowing me to have this opportunity. When we ran, and I don't think I've ever told anybody this. I think the only person I've actually ever told to was my brother, and to people that asked me too, if ever, like, why didn't you decide to become president? I did intend to run for president before, but I realized something about me that, something that I liked being, and that was being tremendous support for everybody. That whether it's running a Senate meeting and being tremendous support for all of you guys running this show, or being a really tremendous support to our my running mate over there, that's who I am. I like helping people. I like helping people every day, whether it's through my classes, whether it's through here, whether it's outside. So yeah, so thank you, honestly. Thank you very much. Why am I leaving? So first off, just to clarify for a lot of people, I'm leaving because I'm focusing on my studies, and that's really mainly it. Another thing too is that to understand why why I need to focus on my studies is for two things. One is to, and it's a really weird story, is that I went to church. Coincidentally, I went to church and I had an epiphany. And it was I actually took painting a while back, and I remembered like how much I like to do a lot of arts, a lot of music, and a lot of these things, and they all kind of started integrating together. And I remember why I went to school. I decided what I wanted to take for college in the first place. I wanted to become a video game designer, and that's why I took computer science. And over that time, I started imagining a lot of things, and I told myself, like, that's probably why I'm getting so bored in my classes, my computer science classes. I would leave here at Senate so tired and be so bored because I don't understand anything. And I remembered why I finally figured out like why I needed to do that in the first place. And ever since then, all of my classes have been the most interesting thing in the world. And I just remembered I'm transferring this fall. And so I don't understand a lot of these concepts that I'm taking in my classes. In all honesty, it's actually really shameful of me that I'm copying homework from most of my friends because I'm just rushing most of my homework and focusing my stuff here. So I'm focusing on my studies because I want to be the best that I want to be with my career. I want to do that, and my end game, honestly, is to put up a school that is designed to do that. And so I really want to focus on my studies. And the other thing is, I live alone. I mean, mind you, my brother visits every other weekend, but for the most part, I live by myself. And for most people that don't know, and it's really great that Senator Villalobos put it up, is that I too suffer from anxiety and depression. I get days like alone, crying in the middle of the room. I get really bad anxiety episodes. I believe a couple people saw it last semester that I was having a really bad attack. And it's been getting worse just because of a lot of the pressures that have been coming in with just mainly my studies, because I love to succeed. I love to get A's, and just as much as you guys, maybe more so. I don't know. Yeah, it's the Asian. But that's really what it is. I want to be able to be mentally prepared that when I transfer to university, and at the same time to intellectually prepared, that when I come to university, I'm going to be as the best that I could possibly do, and I encourage that for every single one of you. Like we advocate over here, it's students first, and that is exactly what I want to model to you guys. I'm a student first, and I want to succeed in everything that I want to do. So again, Thank you for all the opportunities you guys have given me. You guys have taught me so much, and I'm really, really, really honored to have served you guys as Vice President. Thank you. Whereas the creation of 2 student affairs assistant positions exclusively for the ASCC president and vice president at the rate of $14.32 an hour. ASCC president and vice president at the rate of $14.32 an hour, with the maximum amount of hours a week being 25. And whereas the position of student affairs assistant makes the ASCC president and vice president accountable to the dean of student services, creating a conflict of interest between the responsibility to represent students and their accountability to their new employer. And whereas the lack of transparency unintentionally gives the appearance of favoritism, and whereas all students should be given the equal opportunity to interview and obtain these 2 positions, and whereas applications were not available to the student body population at large, and whereas student affairs assistant's position should have been open and promoted to all students at large, therefore, granted. And with that, 29. Quorum is now reestablished at 29. Where was I? Therefore, be it resolved that the Associated Students of Cerritos College request the student body president and vice president resign from the student affairs position. Be it further resolved, the Associated Students of Cerritos College request the dean of student affairs to open the student affairs positions at the rate of $14.32 an hour, with the maximum amount of hours a week being 25, to be open to all eligible students determined by an application process.
Yes, I just wanted to reinforce the idea that these positions were executive given by the Dean of Student Services. Also, the lack of description violates the student equity plan that mandates that there be success indicators to monitor the overall student outcome. And these success indicators are mandated in order to derive the funds from the student equity plan. Also, the potential conflict of interest, like I mentioned before, the inequality of the open process in which these positions were executively given, really they go against what the student equity plan is for, in giving populations an opportunity as opposed to 2 specific individuals the opportunity. So I just wanted to clarify that.
The first argument is possible violation of the Equal Opportunity Act. Cerritos College, being a public institution, is bound by the Equal Opportunity Act. Therefore, any job opening must be relayed to the entire student body. Although that is a valid point, if you go back to the human resources, this was stated previously, that is false. That is false pretense argument, and it is false because our human resources in the documents, and Dr. Mary Ann Ghilardi backed this up, that for part-time positions on campus, which is currently what Charles and I have, it does not need to be broadcasted to the entire student population, and that is for every single hourly position at this institution. 2 minutes left?
No, you're already 2 minutes in.
Thank you, sir. Scared me. That's just the way it's been done. It's the way it's been done with some of the staff in ASCC. That's the way it's been done in other departments on campus. So why now, when the president and vice president obtain and go about the same regular process that has been the process for years and years before, why is that now an issue? And why are we looking at this if that's the process? That's false pretense argument. You can cross that argument off against this debate, if you want to call it that. The second argument is no job description. They indicate in their argument that in the job description, the student clerk's positions that are at 9 something an hour, they have job descriptions. Why don't the positions at $4.32 an hour have job descriptions for Charles and I? It is between classified, and I forget the other organization who dictates the negotiations between job descriptions. Can someone help me from the staff?
District.
Classified and district are the entities that create the job descriptions. There are no job descriptions required for part-time hourlies. There are none. It is not allowed. So if it's not allowed, why is the argument being made that there are no job descriptions? How does that even link to the case? if it's not allowed. More importantly, for the student clerk positions, there's no job description on there. There are job duties. There's a huge difference between job duties and a technical job description that belongs to classified. And that's something that is not emitted by the administrators or the deans. It is negotiated between the classified and the district. That's just a fact, and that's the status quo. So again, this argument is not relevant because it doesn't apply to the rules and regulations and procedures that we go by here at Cerritos College and that we have always gone by. And now it seems to be an issue. Moving on to the next argument, no application process. Senator Puente, can I please get instead of a count in, can I get a count down?
All right.
Thank you, sir. No application process. Again, under human resources and under their documents, for any part-time position, it does not have to be broadcasted out. For example, tutors on campus. Who's a tutor? Do you see job postings for tutors out there? Usually the standout student in the class will be approached by the professor or the dean or whoever that individual may be and say, you're a standout student. Do you want to be a tutor? Boom, that's a job. Was that broadcasted out to everybody? No. But now it seems to be an issue. An issue that is not relevant because based on the procedures and the regulations, there does not have to be any type of broadcasting out for any hourly job. Why are these arguments relevant? Moreover, why are they relevant? Did I just say that? Why are we talking about issues that don't apply to the situation? So you can scratch that argument off as well. Approval of the job board of trustees. They argue that this agenda item was put on their last minute. There was a revision placed on their last minute, and I'm sure student trustee Flores can back this up. That for any agenda item to be put on the agenda, it's usually a month prior, the deadline. So that deadline did not get met, and the revision was put on last minute. However, it was still very transparent. Transparent because a lot of items on the agenda, please correct me if I'm wrong, the agendas on the item, they can go into a consent item where the board can approve them as a whole, kind of like what we do here sometimes. However, this agenda item was so pertinent and had so many, different sides, they put it at its own item on the agenda so that the probability of it being overlooked was minimized. Thus, student trustee caught it, and it was talked about, and it was debated. And right here in their argument, they state that for this last-minute addition did not allow for the public, including the students of Cerritos College, to voice any concerns in regards to this topic. There's video evidence that proves that three individuals did indeed speak on behalf of that agenda item. And I believe all three of them are in here. So, is that not contradicting their whole entire argument? That there wasn't enough time for students to speak about it? I think it is, personally. And I could be wrong, but I'm certainly entitled to my opinion. And if we had time, I'd pull up the video that shows these individuals speaking on behalf of it, which suggests the complete opposite on what they're stating in the argument. Time, sir?
Yeah, like 2 minutes.
2 minutes, thank you. And also, they argue that this doesn't follow the student equity plan, but I spoke to Dr. Lacey, and she helped me indicate that anywhere in the ASCC is stated in the student equity plan, that relates directly to positions that stem out of ASCC. And that's coming from the president and superintendent of our institution. And so it's not going against the student equity plan. And when I chose to run for office, I'm going to paint a bigger picture right now on why even emphasizing why this is a bad idea to take these positions away. Amongst giving background information to all of these arguments on why they are false pretense, the bigger picture here is equality for students. When I ran for student body president, I was hindered to do so because of my financial status and how my parents don't help me. I said, I cannot give so much time without receiving any funds. I have to work. I have car insurance. I have gas. I have oil to change. Many of us are in that same situation, and we struggle to be here at Cerritos College. However, I want to be a better leader. I want to lead this campus to better and bigger things, and I believe I can do that. I said, what am I going to do? Financially, it's not allowing me to. And for many, many students that has happened in the years past where they say, I can't become a better individual. I can't become a better leader because they're financially restricted. And that is excluding such a high percentile of students from trying to be president and vice president and trying to promote student equity here, trying to promote leadership amongst all students. We should make this position open to everybody. However, in the status quo, that is not true just because of the financial burdens that it permits. I said, you know what? I'm going to run and I'm going to challenge the status quo and I'm going to change it and I'm going to fight to get paid. Not for me, not for the vice president for this year, for every single year that follows. So this job can be open to such a larger percentile and it helps students become better leaders. It helps students push themselves. And in doing so, we are opening up this opportunity for more students on campus. That's what I fought for and that's what I have delivered. Did it look bad? Yes. Could we have been more transparent? Of course, but change is hard.
President Aiello, please wrap up your discussion with this.
Thank you. I just need 40 seconds, sir. Change is hard. Could we have gone about it better? Yes. But you know what? Let's not hinder our progression. This is a milestone that every president and vice president for the future will now have the opportunity to get paid in this position, a position that requires so much sacrifice, determination, and consistency, and work ethic, and collaboration. From now on, we can say that the presidents and vice presidents will join the other 72% of community colleges in this nation who pay the presidents and vice presidents. This was not about us. This was the bigger picture. This was delivering to this institution the opportunity to promote student equity amongst all students on campus and to help give individuals the opportunity to become better leaders and to compensate them based on all of the work and sacrifice that they do through the entire school year. If you vote this down, this is going to hinder the progression we've made. It did not look good. No, we've been out there. We've been sticking our neck out there saying that. We know it did not look good. But that is not enough grounds, enough reasoning to go back and to start this process all over. The positions are board approved, and the next president and vice president, quote unquote, from Dr. Contreras, will be provided with an opportunity to be employed, thus helping propel them to more student success and student equality. Thank you.
There was a statement that was made by our president. I didn't get the exact statement, but it was something along the lines of every person doesn't represent a student, or every student worker, I don't know if you could clarify, but represents a student. But not every student worker represents all 20,000 students the same way our ASCC president does. So it's kind of, you know, as someone who works in the financial aid office, they represent themselves. As the ASCC president, who also holds a position of employment, also represents, not also, but represents 20,000 people by themselves. He mentioned something about there's no application process and how the tutors don't go through an application process. I know math tutors have to go through a vigorous process. They're not just going to have any math student, you know, teach me how to do pre-cal. Well, at least I hope not. And I know that they go through a vigorous process. They go through a hiring process. You know, they have to show proof that they're able to be a math tutor. And point of order.
Point of order. Everybody please give their undivided attention to this.
As vice president, it is very stressful and it's a lot of work to be done to do this job. But I did it without having a job, and now putting in our personal things is last year I lived with a single parent, and they helped me, but at the same time it's very hard to move on and keep doing what we want to do and be leaders. And I did it last year, and last year was with an allocation of only $250. This year they have $1,000 each. So I don't feel like this year or any president or vice president should be getting paid, because it is a volunteer basis job. Like it's something that has to come from what you want to do and make a change in ASCC, and if you're getting paid, it's a totally different thing. And from being a job, if you volunteer, it's totally different than getting paid. So I don't feel like the president and vice president should ever have a paid job, because if they do, it means our cabinet, senate, and court should also be getting paid, because they're also doing a lot of work like the president and vice president. And the part-time jobs that were being mentioned earlier, all the job description, like the clerk job that we made, it has a description in it. The jobs now, the student ambassador jobs that are under ACC, they have a job description. And then going to the tutors, those tutors, like Miles said, the teachers tell them that's a way of opening the job to the students. There's a way that it was open, and there's an application process. Whereas these jobs was not mentioned to anyone. Those teachers are telling the tutors, hey, go apply, go do this, apply. That's how it was said by President Aiello. So these jobs were not open to anyone. None of us knew about this, which is why we're talking about it. So that's why I feel that all the other jobs that are open to students are told to the students that these jobs are open. And then also that board meeting where the transparency in it, we didn't know that this agenda item was going to be on there at all. We did not know when we got there. Miles said that it was put on a separate agenda item. It was not. It was put on an agenda item with other student jobs that were on there. One of them who is here, and if you guys were to go to that board meeting and watch the video, there is a couple trustees that abstained from voting from hiring these jobs because they didn't agree with the process of how these jobs were hired. And the only reason I feel like it was passed was because there was 2 other students on that agenda item that were being hired for a job as well. So I just want senators to know that, again, going back to my first point, president and vice president should never be paid. I've done this job before, and you can do it without being paid as a job.
And I also just want to, challenge what, the student body president said, and the aspect where he said, this is a milestone to have our, student leaders being paid. I'm not against that at all. I'm just against, how I was lied to at the board of trustee meeting when I asked them, is this position being rewarded to them because of their other titles? And they said no. And I kept questioning them, and eventually said, well, yeah. And here we are asking them, are they because of their titles? And they're saying no. Yet your student body president just admitted it is because of their titles. And so to say that, Charles just resigned from his position as vice president. And so if you're saying that these are for their, because of their titles, does that mean your job as a student vice president is no longer relevant because you no longer have that title of vice presidency? That's another issue. The second issue that, your student body president mentioned is that, this is the status quo. And our status quo is messed up. It's when we were talking about the board of trustees meetings, they always hide behind, oh, that's just the way we do things around here. But we have to challenge the status quo. And your student body president said, let's challenge the status quo, yet he didn't challenge it when he had the opportunity to challenge the status quo. And that's all I'm going to say. Everything he said about, the trustee meeting, what process is done is correct, but it's like Aldemar said, it was added into already an existing board item, and I had to pull it out to have a discussion, or else it would get voted in as a block. Thank you.
As senators have mentioned, we've been talking about this for over a month. It makes me question what we are doing. Are we looking out for ourselves? Are we looking out for the 26,000 students? How many issues have we passed up on because we have mentioned this topic, and our meetings have gone into 2 hours for the past, 3 weeks, 4 weeks? Who knows how long today is going to be? Not really sure. And again, the transparency issues. I'm just going to mention transparency in our student government, in ASCC, our Senate, Cabinet, Court. We're completely transparent. So if there's a transparency issue in another forum, in another area, guess what? You can file a Brown Act violation, and you can have them correct that. That would make that whole meeting invalid. I understand that there is a petition with 300 names. 300 names out of 27,000 students. So let's be real about this. Let's be realistic. 300 names is not anywhere close to being near our student population, our student body. So to refer to that is completely false. It's only a sample size. And that's what I'm going to say now.
Okay, thank you, Senator Nino. Your opponents will take it. Senator Guzman.
So yeah, I want to clear up a lot of things. What we're arguing is not about the titles, it's about the process. So let's scratch that off, because we're not talking about president or vice president, we're talking about the process. Second of all, the qualifications, when it comes to the qualifications, and when I talk to a lot of students about this, a lot of them felt like this was very unfair. they felt a lot of them have the same situations as the president and vice president had, where they're struggling to make ends meet, and they want to get involved. But giving the jobs to the president and vice president is not, it's an unfair thing to do. And second of all, as the president of the Senate said, that there's going to be a process where in the future presidents are going to get paid and vice presidents. Then tell me how are we going to do that? Because there's nothing stated. I haven't heard, oh, how are we going to do this? Is there going to be legislation? I don't see legislation. Second of all, if you guys vote this down, you guys are voting down the will of the students. This is what the students want. And to make a point of clarification on what Jonino said, 360 people voted for the president and vice president. That's enough. That's enough for you guys to listen, for the president and vice president to listen. So that's all I have to say. Please respect the will of the students, because that's what you guys are here for.
Negos, thank you. $1,000 stipend. Yes, we are rewarded $1,000
President
stipend.
Aiello, if you please address the record.
We're rewarded $1,000 stipend, but that $1,000 stipend is not, I can't spend that on gas. I can't spend that on rent. Dr. Contreras can validate that. That money is to be spent for the students in any way that I've done, such as buying portos for cabinet, which I did earlier this year, such as doing other means for senators and cabinet members. So, stating that that money is used for my personal gains, once again, is false. Just like all the other arguments on this sheet of paper that I refuted, and I explained thoroughly. Every single one of them. Again, going on now to Senator Abraham's comments. This breaks the democratic process. Really just had an epiphany right now, just sitting here. This breaks the democratic process. Student trustee. Who does a student trustee get paid? Guy or girl, whoever it is. They get paid by the district.
Great.
They get paid by, so, before I was,
Sorry, please wrap up your discussion.
is that time?
That was time.
I have a list. Student trustee position, is that not a conflict of interest itself? The district pays the student trustee, yet the student trustee serves the students and answers to the students, but they work with the board. That's the model that has been set. How is that not a conflict of interest? How has that never been brought up? And now all of a sudden it's been brought up. Broad picture, all of these arguments have been refuted.
Okay, noted.
Please take that into consideration on a broad
Thank you.
scale, what this does for students and all those who dare to obtain leadership positions.
Thank you.
Point of clarification.
Just a second. Can you guys please clarify your point of order that way? That way I know what you guys are
Point of
thinking.
clarification, student trustee is irrelevant in this matter as he has no supervisor, as the president will be directly under the dean of student services.
Thank you. The legislation is SR 14002. Resolved that the Associated Students of Cerritos College request that the student body president and vice president resign from the student affairs position. And can someone actually turn the page for that one so I can get an accurate description of the other resolve?
Point of order, can the public please be silent?
That is a personal privilege. Yes, would the public please, if the public could please lend their attention. Thank you. Be it further resolved that the Associated Students of Cerritos College request that the Dean of Student Affairs open the student affairs position at a rate of $14.32 an hour, with the maximum amount of hours a week being 25 to be open to all eligible students determined by an application process.
Sorry if I'm being tedious, but I move to amend legislation where it says it's the sixth whereas, where it says should, and make it could.
Can we have it up on the screen, please? Alejandro, can you pull it up so that way everybody can see it? So the wording right now is student affairs assistant's position should have been open and promoted to all students at large. It shall be revised to could. Is there a second? Okay, so moved by Senator Neo, seconded by Senator Zepeda to amend the resolution so that it says could instead of should. I feel like that's an English example. So if there are no objections, we shall revise that. Okay, okay. Would you like to defend your objection, please?
Yeah, because I feel like the legislation, it says student affairs assistant position should have been open. And I think that's the discussion we've been having, that these job positions should have been open. And it's not that they could have been open, because it's like, the discussion we've been having is that they should have been open to us.
Okay, understood. Unless Senator Menino resents his motion, we shall take this to a roll call vote for the amendment. Okay. 12 ayes, 11 nays, and 5 abstentions. And with that, motion passes and SR 14002. The motion before you is to approve item 8B, C, D, E, F, G, and H as a block. Just to clarify for everybody, SB 14067 is the CM3 South Super Pi Day Conference legislation. SB 14068 is the Commissioner of External Affairs. SB 14069 is the Assistant Commissioner of Daytime Activities. SB 14070 is the Assistant Commissioner of Public Relations. SB 14071 is the Assistant Commissioner of Student Center. SB 14072 is the Assistant Commissioner of Records and Information. And SB 14073 is the Associate Justice. All of those shall be approved in a block.
Thank you. I have 10 seconds. I just want you guys to take into consideration, we spent so long talking about those student affairs assistants for a while, and then when we come to appointing all these commissioners, we approved it without even knowing who the candidates were and talking about them or figuring out whether they're qualified or whatnot. So where do our priorities lie? Is it personal interest, or is it, what's right for the students? I move to suspend the rules of the day in order for a super majority to approve this item, or to go over this item and possibly approve.
Okay. Okay, it's been moved by Senator Nino and seconded by Senator Sanchez. Just to clarify for everybody is to, was it again?
It would be to suspend the rules of the day while we have quorum to go over this item and possibly approve.
Yeah, this allows, seeing that we're suspending the rules of the day, this allows people that, this allows us to not even have quorum, but we are allowed to approve given mistakes. So is there, it's been seconded. If there are no objections, we shall suspend the rules of the day so that we will form a supermajority. Okay, seeing none, we shall suspend the rules of the day. Is there anybody that needs to leave at this time? I know you two need to leave, and here's all four of you. Okay, go ahead, and with that, that is down to 15, and seeing that the rules of the day has been suspended, we'll go ahead and proceed with item 8A. You have 10 minutes. Yes.
It is unfortunate that the resolution has passed based on false pretense arguments, which I proved to be incorrect and invalid. However, it's important that we still focus on what's important for students here, and that we learn from the process in which we took up time and we inconvenienced deans and vice presidents, administrators, clubs, and getting their money. And it's important that we come together as a student body and we stay together. And we keep pushing for what students need. We keep fighting for what's important. And ultimately, it's that we work together. And we come together after this process. So as a student body president, I will consider stepping down based on what you have all, student body president. Stepping down as student affairs assistant, I will take that into consideration and thought after you have voiced your thought as a body. But let's come together and finish this strong year and make an impact and leave a legacy as ASCC for the academic year 2014-2015. Thank you.
Here, so let me go ahead and adjourn this last meeting for me at 4:01 p.m.